Good morning. This is my name's Ken Christiansen, and I'm with BHC today. And as everyone knows by now, we carry on these videotapings to try to help the congregation learn about us. And I'm blessed this morning to have one of my good friends. We're good friends, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Teresa Haynes. And Teresa is the administrative assistant here at W Heights. And is that correct?
It's actually changed to office manager now.
Okay. So we have learned something already. It's the office manager. So is that a promotion for you then, or is that a...
It was. When they hired Debbie and I, we were administrative assistants, and we worked together for several months until she got a job offer with Sun City Community Assistant Network, which is great. It worked out really good for her. And they talked with me, and we decided at that time to just make it a one person with the volunteers.
Yeah. How's that worked out?
It's worked out really good. We have some awesome volunteers. We have 18 that come into the office now, and they have different skill sets, different personalities, but I love each one of them because they bring something new, something different to the office. So, of course, the challenge is trying to figure out who can do what their skill sets are, and putting them in a place where they feel comfortable. So,
yeah.
But they all want to serve the Lord, and that's why we're all here.
Somebody else told me that how many people you had now as a staff working for you, and you're directing. That's a big job.
It is. It is. Like I said, finding things for some to do can be challenging because there's not always something. So we've started some new projects so that we can keep people busy.
Well, okay. So remind me later on. Let's talk about some of the projects maybe if you're up for that.
Sure.
So I'd like to start with your upbringing a little bit.
Okay.
You were born where?
Well, actually, I was born in Kansas, but my dad was in the service then.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved to Denver, Colorado, when I was like 3 months old, and I was there my whole life.
Okay, so you're
basically
born and raised in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
So we have something in common.
Yes.
I was born in Denver, but I wasn't raised there.
Oh, okay.
But lived there. What part of Denver did you live?
Well, we lived in central Denver. It was by Ruby Hill area.
Yeah.
And I graduated from South High School in '69, and then started working after that.
Okay.
Started as a typesetter, which is before everybody could do typesetting on their computer.
Okay.
And I worked into graphic design, and
wow.
So that was my career for a while.
So all of that stuff really comes to play now, doesn't it?
Does.
I would assume.
It really does. God gifts us with what we're going to use most of our life, it seems like, from a young age. So,
is it fair to say that you were called to ministry?
I believe I was. I was even young. I always had administrative type skills.
Mm-hmm.
I like to organize and put things together, and also I was a bit of a drama queen, which has come into play many times in my life. So so those some of those skills have come into play. But yeah, I was born again when I was very young in Free Methodist Church.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as some of us have got away from the Lord in my high school years, but then because of His grace, He called me back, and I came back to Him like in my late 20s, early 30s.
Okay.
And from that point on, I've either served or worked in ministry all my life.
Okay. So you got education through the seminaries as well.
It was actually through Bible school in our. We went to a Messianic congregation, which is the Hebrew roots. We worshipped on Saturday. We did the feast days. Learned a lot about the Old Testament and how that focuses on who Jesus is. It shows us complete the Old Testament will bring us to Jesus if we follow it. And so, so we went to, Ernie and I both went to the Bible school. It was 3 years. It had hermeneutics, exegesis of scripture, leadership, prayer, just about everything you need as a leader. So it was very good.
So now you pair that with your experience in office management, and voila, away we go. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When did you get married?
We got married in '84. I always tell people we had to have a practice before. And maybe I shouldn't say that online, but but yeah, marriage, of course, is daily. It's a ministry for all of us because we work together. But Ernie and I have always had a friendship relationship too. So, of course, we were married after 5 weeks. Little bit too soon.
Yeah.
But it took us a while to get on track. But then, since then, it'll be 40 years that we were married.
Well,
Yeah.
now you've got how many children?
I've got a son, Spencer, and Ernie has 4 children, Tiffany, Tyler, and twins, Dina and Dana.
Okay.
And so we have 9 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild.
Oh my God. Yeah. And is it Spencer? Was that your son's name?
Yes.
Where does he live now?
He lives in Denver.
Okay.
Yeah.
You get up to see him very often?
Actually, we're going to be going in September to see
great.
them. Yeah. I took care of my grandsons, their kids, from the time they were born, 2 days a week until we moved here. So they were like 12 or so, 12 when we moved. And it was a blessing to be able to get that close impact with
Grandkids are special.
Yeah.
I'm preaching to the choir, as they say right now, which reminds me, for those people who don't know, you're active in the choir.
Yes.
And you alluded to earlier the fact that you're a little bit of a drama queen.
A little bit. Yeah. Just ask my husband.
I'll never forget Desi and Lucy singing at the.
Yeah.
You're pretty good.
Thanks. Yeah, and we did a lot of dramas throughout our ministry. I directed some. I wrote some plays. Through each church that we were at, we were always involved doing different dramas. Sometimes we would do skits to songs like the Carmen songs. If anybody remembers those, those songs, they made great skits. I did musicals with kids, with teenagers. We even did The Diary of Anne Frank at one point. And that was a huge undertaking, but it was difficult. It turned out really, really awesome.
Wow.
So.
Let's back up just a little bit.
Okay.
And let's talk a little bit about Spencer.
Okay, yeah.
And Spencer's your son?
Yes.
And he's got some medical issues now.
He does. He has a disease called ABS, which is autobreuer disease. And he has something in his gut that produces ethanol, which then turns into alcohol. Now, he was a pastor, he's associate pastor. He was in outreach missions, always has had a heart for God. And this has pretty derailed their family for many years because he never knows when an episode's going to happen. He'll just be out of it. He's passed out to the point that he turns blue. His wife is a nurse, so that's really been beneficial. But and the medical profession has pretty much gone through everything they know to help find a cure for him. He's even under some different colleges. They're doing case studies and they're trying to find cures, and he's part of those programs. But recently he's been going to a naturopathic doctor, and she found the E. coli bacteria and another bacteria that's in his gut that is doing this. So she has found something that seems to be working. He's gotten a lot better in the past few months, where he's maybe has a couple hours instead of days where he's out of it.
Mm.
So we're really thanking the Lord that we feel like he's on his way to health,
Well,
and
yeah.
so that's a real praise. Yeah.
How old is he now?
He is 44. He'll be 44.
Realize you're going to have a test here, did you?
I know. I'm like, get my fingers out.
I'd be the same way. You did good. You passed.
Thank you.
44 years old.
Uh-huh.
Wow. That's about the same age as our son.
Uh-huh.
And I just can't imagine people who have issues with their kids. You know,
I know.
how's that old saying says that our kids are supposed to not have to go through stuff like that. Leave that for us. Is that?
Yes, absolutely. I've told him over and over, if I could take this from you, I would.
Yeah.
You know, and but it's helped them grow in their faith. It's helped his wife grow in her faith. The boys have had it a little more rough, but recently he's been able to do things with them, and they'll say, "Dad, this was the best day of my life." You know,
Mm.
so it's just, you know, but we're trusting God, and we believe things are going to turn around.
Well, fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's in your prayer life
Yeah, yes,
regularly.
Yes.
I'm assuming.
it
Yeah.
is.
Now Ernie's got some issues with some of his kids, or
Yes,
as well.
he's got a daughter that had a brain, I don't know what you could call it, like it's been about 12 years ago, I think, where she was, they called it similar to mad cow disease, an infection in her brain. And when she came out of it, she had no memory of anywhere she'd been, her house, how to write, how to walk. She knew faces. She knew her dad, her mom, her kids.
Hmm.
But she thought she was in the hospital having her daughter, who was 19 at the time. So she kind of went back into that age. And so she's had a hard time since then.
Well,
Prayers are with her too.
we never quit being parents.
That's right. Yeah.
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 Boy, thank goodness for prayer.
Yes.
It's,
Yeah. Yeah.
prayer is the answer to all things.
Yes.
How can we help you in your job? And let me preface my comment there by saying my history is that you've got a job where people like to come in and just really talk. They need
Mhm.
somebody to talk to. Well,
Mm-hmm.
how can they not talk to Carissa? You know? There you are. And so it was always kind of an issue about you've also got a job to do. You've got work that has to get done.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we as a congregation help you?
Yeah.
What can we do better?
Well, first of all, I love when people come in.
Okay.
I can do work anytime, but if they're coming in, then I want to serve them. I mean, that's what we're here for, you know. So the work can get spread out, it can be postponed, some things. But I was going to show you, this is a list of our tasks for each week,
my
you know. And so
Oh my gosh.
I actually did this early on because I kept forgetting things. So it's like, okay, I need a checklist here so I know what I'm doing. So it's helpful to have that. And then I have a schedule where I schedule different things for the volunteers. So I used to, when they first come in, I'd be like, oh, let's see, what can I find for you to do? But I found that if I think about it ahead of time, that I can get things planned out, and so
Yeah.
that works better.
So this is a task list comes under your
It's for
umbrella.
yes, all the office tasks.
Wow. Well, everything I hear is just nothing but glowing reports on the job that you're doing.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And so if we were to summarize how we could help you, what would it be? What were some
Well,
things we could do?
I think prayer, obviously, that's the first thing. Forgiveness if we do something wrong or get something, a mistake, you know, in the bulletin, or if we forget something. And let's see. I actually wrote this down. Oh, and patience. Patience for us still learning and still trying to get things on track. And so those three things would be good.
So if it's not perfect,
Yeah,
that's just the way the world is.
that is.
It's the way the world rolls.
I don't think any of us are perfect,
That's a good point. Yeah.
except Jesus.
What else do you want to talk about?
Well, let's see.
Well, she's looking
Oh,
there.
I know. One of the projects, did you want?
Nope. Yeah, let's do
One of the projects was, Pastor Rob has over 1,000 messages that he's done over the years. And so I wanted to make sure they were all digitized so that we would have them on record, anything ever happened to them. So we've gone back to his first sermon,
What is your reaction?
and this was in 1984, I believe.
My.
And it's so much fun because, 1984.
Well,
You can see his heart for the Lord even back then. Now he'll say, now don't take that for me today, because my theology may have changed a little bit since then. But it doesn't really matter. It's just like preserving the steps that he went through to get where he's at today. And so this is something the volunteers are helping us. So it starts out like this, and then we end up with, here's how we're formatting it today. And this is how he uses his sermons today.
so let's just, can you see those, dear? So the one
Might
is
be this
Pastor's handwritten notes, and then
We've formatted, we've typed it out, formatted it, and sometimes the handwriting is not exactly the most legible, so we're guessing sometimes.
that's incredible.
But so that's on our heart to get all of those digitized, so we have those formats, and he'll have access to them, because he likes to pull back some of those old stories from these messages, and so I'm pulling those out as we go along to the little stories. So he'll have
He's,
access
one
to
of the
that.
comments that I've heard Lisa make about him, and she said he has the ability to embellish. Have you seen that in your?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yes.
You know.
Oh, yeah.
He's,
Yes.
It works for me.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
Yes.
anything else you can think of we should talk about?
And some of the projects too we are also digitizing all of the old historical documents from when Bellevue Heights first started. So we're taking those notebooks of all these old papers, scanning them in, and then putting those on
Wow.
digitized
Well,
too.
thanks for thinking about that.
So so we'll have that. Plus, at some point it's going to be remodeled out in here, the offices, and so we want to get things out of here and into storage. And if we have everything digitized, then chances of anything happening to them are less. So
A lot
yeah.
better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're so blessed to have Teresa with us. You're just really wonderful.
No,
And
thank you.
I don't mean to embarrass you, but you really
Praise
are.
the Lord. Thank you.
And from what we can tell, you're just doing a great job.
Thank you.
We'd like to ask the people will continue to pray for Teresa, as she alluded to earlier, and have patience. I haven't seen anything that requires patience yet, but we'll keep that in mind.
Oh yeah.
And so it would be wonderful that this is a real blessing for you to be here, because it's a blessing for us.
And it's a blessing for me. It really is. I feel like I'm back where I'm supposed to be. So,
Great. That's good to hear.
yeah.
Well, that's it for BHC today. And you all have a blessed day, and happy trails till we meet again.